Well, I became principal in 1979. This building has been here since 1957. It replaced an earlier building which is just down the road. The old school was built in the 1840s and is a lovely architectural building, but it had outlived its usefulness from a practical point of view. So this school was built in 1957. And was extended in 2000. Our numbers increased and we got a major extension from the department.
So every time I turn and lose, you cats come down to cook my goose. When I start I just can't stop, but if you keep this up you're gonna blow your top. Too late this time, gotta get what's mine.
The Ashter is a lovely place. I would have to say the stonework in the Ashter, for a start, is greatly to be admired and is a monument to a man called Bill Tiernan, who lived in Mountshannon for most of his life and was an absolutely brilliant stonemason. It's a most relaxing place. From the school's point of view, we often bring the children up there. You know, for example, during the Arts Festival, we'd be working in the hall quite a lot, so we would always go down and go around have a look around the Ashter and have lunch there and that kind of thing. But it's a lovely, relaxing place. That's what I think about it. It's a strong tourist attraction as well during the summer. It's a lovely place for tourists to go.
Was that you say?
The lake it serves a lot of purposes. I mean, in the past, it was a method of transport. It was like the motorway down through the country, where, you know, goods were supplied from Dublin via the canals and onto the River Shannon and onto all the areas, you know, which the River Shannon touches. So it had a strong commercial application years ago. In more recent times, I suppose it again has been a magnet for tourists in terms of boating and fishing. The historical aspects of the lake, you know, having Inishkatra, Holy Island, has also been a great attraction.
And everything will be alright. Put a lid on it. Put a lid on it. Put a lid down on it. Save it for another night. Put a lid on it. Put a lid on it.
Guinness was delivered. Guinness was an important commodity in the area as everywhere else. All types of goods were delivered by barge, mainly from Dublin. Things which came into Dublin port were delivered via the Grand Canal, which meets the Shannon, and then the barges sailed down the Shannon and stopped at various places, including Mountshannon, Scariff, Killaloe, Limerick. I suppose the most interesting and tragic story of the barges would be the story of a barge called the 45M, which was sailing to Limerick in 1946, in December 1946, on a Sunday afternoon when the wind rose, a storm gathered, and the barge sank, and a number of lives were lost off the shore at the Tipperary side of the lake. The local connection, I suppose, one of the things which happened was the barge was carrying Guinness, barrels of Guinness, and even though the barge sank, the Guinness barrels popped up and they were blown to the shore on the Mountshannon Whitegate side. So dozens of people went down to the shore and were able to collect up barrels of Guinness and bring them home, and it was said that there was enough Guinness there to keep this area going for months.
Tell you how grand you are. I tried to explain by mere to shame. So kiss me and say that you will understand. By mere bis to shame, you've heard it all before, but let me.
Well, in the village of Mountshannon, you have two churches, and they're both called St. Caiman's. When the village was built in the 1740s, one of the things that had to be built was a church. Now, the present St. Caiman's Church of Ireland Church was built in 1791. I remember there were big celebrations in 1991 when it was 200 years old. The tower of the church was added sometime later, maybe around the 1830s or in that area. The other church then, which is across the road from our school here, is also St. Caiman's, and it's the Catholic Church, and that again was built around the 1830s. I suppose traditionally there have been, both a Protestant and a Catholic community in this area, and both churches are working to this day, and complement each other. They're both used, for example, in the Arts Festival every year. There's elements of the Arts Festival happen in both churches.
Can I explain by being missed to shame? So kiss me and say that you will understand.
The forge has receded to a certain extent in importance. For a long period it has been used mainly for shoeing horses. And from that point of view, certainly 30, 40 years ago, it would almost be a social centre in the village, because every time you would pass the forge, there'd be a few people there. And as often as not, most of them would be just stopping for a chat rather than actually having a horse to come in. In recent times as well, it's been a tourist attraction. I know it's been taken over, and Mark Wilson is there, and he does a lot of craft work with iron work there, so it would be a strong tourist attraction.
Now I'm the king of the swingers, the jungle VIP. Well, I've reached the top and I've had to stop, and that's what's bothering me.
A village should have a market house for people buying and selling their goods, so it would have been set up at that stage. So the market house would have been the centre of commerce back in the 1740s. It's no longer fulfills that role. It's privately owned now, but the building itself is it's a strong architectural quality, and it's an interesting building, even though it has changed a little bit, obviously, since the 1740s.
Can learn to be human too.
Sloth.
So don't try to kid me, man, girl. I made a deal with you. What I desire is man's red fire to make my dream come true. Just give me the secret, man.